Training camp in St. Joseph up to another level. The second day in pads for the back-to-back Super Bowl champions. As today, the Chiefs working on a lot of short yardage and goal line situations. Yesterday, it was a day of endurance. But as we've said many, many times, every day matters in the Chiefs' kingdom. And the Chiefs keep the tempo going in pads. Hi, everyone. I'm Mitch Holthus, and welcome to our second live stream from training camp. I'm joined by Matt McMullen, senior team reporter. This is a special day, not just for the Chiefs, but the rest of the 31 teams around the National Football League. We're celebrating football's return. You've waited 5 months. You got it back, okay? It's here. And Back Together Weekend is being celebrated by all of the teams. So catch the action on NFL Network, also on NFL Plus, ABC, and ESPN, and go to NFL.com/BackTogetherWeekend for more information. But we're back, and not just the Chiefs, but the entire league. The most, in many ways, the most captivating professional league in the world. I mean, the English Premier League's right there with it. But the NFL is back to start another season.
And for the Chiefs, it's real football today and yesterday. You mentioned it. The pads are back on. Think about this. Until yesterday, the Chiefs had not worn pads since Super Bowl 58 because during the offseason, there's no pads at all. It's just shorts and like padded shirts. They're called shells. That's all important. That's like mental reps and IQ stuff, knowing where you have to be, conditioning. But real football is taking place right now. It's hot out here. It's difficult, but the team's getting better right now in pads.
Every live stream we do is brought to you by the incredible people at Mosaic Life Care. Not only for our live streams, but they're the proud presenting sponsor of Kansas City Chiefs training camp. They're a member of the Mayo Clinic Care Network. Mosaic investing in the future of healthcare and also investing in their people, their technology, and their services to offer the best and safest care while keeping it local, and they are very local. I had a chance yesterday to speak to the Mosaic folks that were here, several of them representing their clinics, their docs, their administration, all throughout their organization. But when we're here, we get to feel Mosaic because not only they help the Chiefs team, they help the fans. They're involved every day here. But the four-state area, Falls City, Nebraska, Shenandoah, Iowa, Hamburg, Iowa, Burlington Junction, Missouri, Wathena, White Cloud, Kansas. This four-state region, Mosaic is a great partner during training camp.
You could go all day with all those town names, couldn't you?
I got a whole bunch more coming at you. The next live stream, I'll give you some more.
There we go. But yeah, we're so lucky to have this entire experience. Mosaic helps make it all possible. The Chiefs are one of only a few teams that still goes away for training camp. Most teams have their training camp just at their team facility. This is so much fun. If you have the ability to come up here and haven't been up here yet, it's a blast. Just the fans are up here. You can see football right in front of you like you can't see it anywhere else. So yeah, again, if you haven't had a chance to come up here, make sure you come up to St. Joe. And if you see us, say hi.
Let's mention that having camp away, and Andy Reid swears by it, and the results speak for itself. I think the league maybe has to look at maybe doing that, even at some extent, because think about how valuable it is for us. We get more interaction with the guys on the team and the coaches here than any other time during the year. And it's that building and bonding that really creates this sense of team and what has been the secret sauce for the Chiefs in having 11 straight winning seasons and 8 division titles and 3 Super Bowl championships with Andy Reid. It really starts right here. Or we see it with OTAs in the offseason, Matt. But it just takes a whole nother level here, not just physically, but I think mentally, emotionally, and a connectivity.
And you can't really quantify it, maybe by wins, I guess. But just having the guys up here, yeah, the practicing is important, but also just being around each other all the time. Patrick Mahomes has talked about this, where if it's a normal practice, the guys will go out in the field, they'll practice, then they go home, and they have their lives to deal with. But when you're up here, you are at training camp. And this is just the day 6 of 19 practices up here. You're up here for 3.5 weeks, and all you're doing is practicing, then hanging out with your teammates, eating lunch with your teammates, and talking about football. It's all football. And for the Chiefs, coming off the shortest offseason for any team in NFL history, just 5 months ago we won the Super Bowl, that helps just building that camaraderie with your teammates and that chemistry. It's really, really important. It goes beyond just the football field. It's also off the field. So, yeah, we're huge fans of St. Joe and being up here.
And 2 position groups, which is going to personify this discussion, are the wide receivers and the linebackers. And let's start with the wide receivers.
Yeah.
Because this group and why this training camp and being detached and growing together as a group with the quarterbacks and the rest of the offense is so vitally important. Yesterday, You know, I love our social team. I love our 65 TPT crew, our entire marketing crew.
They're all watching, so be careful. They're right over here.
Love them. But yesterday, and both you and I put it out there on Twitter/X on social and got the reaction. When it was Hollywood Brown walking down the hill with Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice, the new area code of 514, it might be to me the most dynamic photo of this offseason because it just told you, we said the back third is open for business again. In that photo, the whole world got to see what we're seeing glimpses of. And this camp is vital to have those three guys start to integrate and be a huge part of this team.
It was so cool seeing those three walk down the hill together, and they represent the possibilities for the offense this year. Think about Rashee Rice, just 63 yards shy of 1,000 last year as a rookie. Really, really good player. We expect him to take a step here in 2024. Xavier Worthy, know what he can do. Fastest player in the history of the Combine. Saw some huge plays from him early on in camp. He can stretch the field. He's exciting. But Hollywood Brown is the player that every day we notice him and talk about him because he's been so consistent every single day. And think about what Hollywood has done in his career. During his 3 seasons in Baltimore, from 2019 to 2021, he caught 195 passes for 2,361 yards and 21 touchdowns in 46 games, despite playing on a Ravens offense that only wanted to run the football. They were the 30th ranked passing offense. That was their bread and butter. I totally get it. But despite that scheme, Hollywood still got his numbers and contributed. Think about what he's going to do in an offense like this, which is predicated on throwing the football. Every single day, he has made at least one play. And it's not just in one area, not just the deep stuff. He can do that, but also the underneath routes, the shallow crossers. He's been so smooth and consistent on those, and that's why we're very excited about Hollywood Brown.
The two things that have been, I don't want to say surprising, but maybe revealing about Hollywood Brown in this offense and in this system. And when you study his career up to this point, remember he was a number one draft or first-round draft pick by Baltimore coming out of Oklahoma, where he had a great career. But one is the consistency, and two is his ability to handle volume. If you look at his career, 18 times in his career, Matt, 18 times, and this has been at both Baltimore and Arizona, he has had double-digit targets in a game. If you go back to his postseason career and their divisional game by the Ravens in 2020 against the Tennessee Titans, he had 11 targets in that game against Tennessee. So I think people see the speed. They think the third level. But what we've seen is, yes, that's there, but his consistency every day, we saw it again today. He made a tough play today in a short yardage situation, needed to pick up for a first down. So not only his route running consistently, but his ability to handle volume. And I think that's easily overlooked if you study Hollywood Brown.
And the one thing with him that's impressed me from day one in OTAs is his ball tracking ability. His ball tracking ability is super impressive. He actually talked about it the other day during his presser. It made a lot of sense because it's one thing to be fast. A lot of players are fast, but if you can't track the ball downfield, doesn't really matter. It's just second down, right? Third down, doesn't matter. You didn't catch the football. Hollywood Brown's ball tracking ability to catch up to the pass, no matter where it is. I mean, Patrick Mahomes can almost throw him open because he can catch up to it. So the ball tracking ability, can't really quantify that at the Combine, but that's one of his elite traits for sure.
In 2 100-yard receiving games in the playoffs. He has performed in the postseason when called upon early in his career with the Baltimore Ravens. But I had a chance to talk with Hollywood yesterday. You know, many times, Matt, you and I talk about kind of meant to be. Things just kind of happen and snap together. And for Hollywood Brown, this feels like coming to the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and trying to do something no team in the NFL has ever done. It feels like meant to be. First of all, some things are just meant to be. How much do you feel like it's meant to you to be here and in this offense at this time?
For me, it feels like match made in heaven. I'm excited to be here. It's just been great since I've been here. I've been loving it.
In this offense, how much does it fit your skills?
It fit me very good, very well. When you look at all the things I want to do on the field, Coach Reed let me do it, so I'm excited.
And to play with Pat, we've already seen it. I watched it all through OTAs, but then seeing it out here, what about playing with Patrick and what that means?
He's one of the best to do it. You know, it's nothing he can't do on the field. Like some of the throws he makes is like incredible. He sees the field very well. And so for us, it's real easy, you know, to get out your break and knowing where the ball going to be is perfect.
Playing on the line of scrimmage, if you're playing like an X, slot, move, what about all of that and you fitting into all of those demands?
It's been fun working on my game, coming to a Super Bowl team and really showing that, I can play all over the field and, get the approval of my teammates and my coaches. It's been real exciting.
And Hollywood, final question. I talked to Tranquil about this, or JR. This is a great culture, but what about coming in and enhancing the culture and even making it better?
It's something I pride myself on, especially, for a receiver group coming in, bringing the energy, being a leader on and off the field and, trying to keep improving because everyone in the league is going to get better. So to get another Super Bowl, you got to keep improving.
Awesome, brother. That's it.
It's a dog right here.
Oh, dog
right here.
Dogs all over.
That's a dog right there.
Again, back here at training camp, brought to you by the folks at Mosaic Life Care. And also, it's back to football day around the entire National Football League. But I loved it when Tranquil photobombs the interview. In fact, we're going to talk to Drew in just a little bit. But he called him, hey, he's a dog. And that's what we're seeing. But you know what? There's some perspective here. They both entered the league at the same time. They were both they're both in their 6th year. They both entered the league in 2019. So Tranquil knows. He knows, even though he's on the other side of the ball, and he's seeing what we're seeing in Hollywood Brown, and that is, you can be excited. I think we're getting more than we even thought we're going to get from Hollywood Brown.
And what's so fun for both of those guys is, in Tranquil's case, joined us last year. Hollywood joined us this year. They've joined this culture and embraced it. And you and I have been around, obviously, you've been around for 31 years. I've been here for 8 years now. I've been a fan long before that. This culture is special here in Kansas City and under Coach Reed. And for players to come from other teams and to join it, to be a part of it, to be enamored with it, and to love it, it's just really cool. So love seeing Tranquil come over and just give Hollywood some props.
14 wide receivers in this camp. There's not room for everybody, of course. But let's talk about the other part of the 514 area code walking down the hill yesterday. And let's go to Rashee Rice next, the 4 part of the 514. But last year, a Kansas City Chiefs rookie record with his 7 touchdown receptions, his 79 receptions, mentioned just shy of 1,000 yards receiving. But what he did in the playoffs, especially going for a $130 in that -28 wind chill game against Miami, gets your attention. Had some big catches. But that 262 yards receiving in the playoffs last year was second in NFL history by any rookie in the league. So we saw Rashee grow. And I really thought it was when he turned the corner on the crosser against the Raiders.
Yep.
On that 39-yard. You know, you were helping me that day in the booth. When I saw it, it was right in front of us. And when he turned the corner and exploded, that sealed that game, basically, I thought, bingo, the light just came on.
And that was the game we were losing 14-0 at one point, I believe. And he was part of the resurgence from the offense to go and win that game. You mentioned being second in NFL history in yards for a rookie in the postseason. His 26 catches were the most by a rookie in the postseason in NFL history. Don't forget about his big catch on 3rd down against the 49ers in overtime. Who knows what happens if he doesn't move the chains on that one. Of course, the Chiefs have to go for it. They were down a field goal at that point, but huge play that kind of broke the back of the Niners there. Rashee's 669 yards after the catch last season ranked 3rd in the NFL. A lot of what he did last year was kind of behind the line of scrimmage or maybe within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. But one of the reasons I'm excited about him is all the diverse stuff he's done up here at camp. And I mentioned this on our last live stream, but a few days ago, one-on-one deep down the sideline, he won on a go route. And I think Rashee being unlocked as maybe that deep receiver as well is part of the next step for him. But so far, so good there.
Yeah, his yards after catch, an NFL rookie record last year as well. But you remember Juju Smith-Schuster and what he did for this team in 2022 on the road to Super Bowl 57 championship. Rashee brings that element, but you just brought up a great point. It's Juju maybe early in his career with Pittsburgh, where he's got the yak ability, but now we're seeing him be either a complement or running the relay in hitting that deep third. We just talked about Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown's more than just running the deep third.
Yeah.
Well, now we see Rashee Rice being more than just a shallow crosser break tackles guy.
And he's also still the chain mover, though. I mean, those shallow crossers, he's so good at that. I'm envisioning at some point this season, you have Hollywood and Rashee running opposite shallow crossers, and good luck stopping that. Look at Rashee's numbers last year. 44 of his receptions picked up a 1st down. So such a talented receiver. I think people often forget that only Puka Nakua, among all rookies last season, had more receiving yards than Rashee Rice. So a real star in the making here in Kansas City, and having Hollywood and also Xavier Worthy now with him is a big deal.
Okay, that double cross you're talking about, imagine that double crosser happening between 5 and 4 in the middle part of the 514 area code. I didn't know Canada had area codes, right? You've all corrected us Philippines are in the northern hemisphere.
Yeah, not the southern. We learned that.
Yeah, we learned that. We got
Defending the Kingdom. Yeah.
Lesson learned, man. Andy Reid will tell you, don't make the same mistake twice.
We won't.
Yeah, he'll tell you, man, in camp especially. But Montreal, one of their area codes is 514, so now we're going to pick up a lot of fans from Montreal. We got, we had our Canadian doctor up there anyway. But the one of the 514, imagine that crosser and then Worthy running a go. Xavier Worthy, we saw the play, the strike of lightning with a 62-yarder, but it's also his ability to be a consistent player. Keep in mind, the biggest stat, I think, with Xavier Worthy, other than popping the 4.21 in the combine, fastest ever in the 40, is he's one of 3 FBS players for the last 3 years, 21, 22, and 23, where he had 2,750-plus receiving yards and 25-plus receiving touchdowns. That tells you consistency. He did not miss a game at Texas, and he played with a broken hand. That's hard to do when you're a wide receiver. But we see some toughness and consistency from Xavier Worthy as well.
Yeah, and to that consistency point, a lot of players that run like a blazing 40 time, I think they get grouped into a collection of players that maybe didn't have great production. They were just really fast. He has both of those things. And it's not like he had just a great senior year or a great junior year. In his last 3 years at Texas, he had at least 60 catches, at least 750 yards, and at least 5 touchdowns. So every single year he was productive, consistently productive, and saved his best work for last, his junior season in 2023. 75 catches for 1,014 yards and 5 touchdowns. You're getting so much more than just a speed threat with Xavier Worthy. We know he's really fast. That is obvious, but he can do a lot more than that. We talked to draft experts throughout the entire draft process, and many of them said, even before the Chiefs got him, he was one of the best route runners in this class. Not just the go route. He can do that, but he can run every other route as well, and that's very exciting.
And all 3 of these guys are the 514 area code. So excited to be in this offense. They're all asked to do everything. Remember, you're not an X, you're not a slot, you're not a Z, you're everything. And these guys fit that mold. Now, one guy, Justin Watson, might be one of the more overlooked guys on this team. If you go back and watch Super Bowl 57, those 3 catches against the Eagles for 50-plus yards were gigantic. Because when the Chiefs need a play, how many times have you seen Watson run an over route? Saw it again in the Super Bowl last year. Run an over route and make a big play when the Chiefs need it the most. We can overlook a guy who's undefeated in his career in the playoffs, and that's Justin Watson.
That's such a great example of why training camp is so important, because he signed with this team a couple years ago. He was not guaranteed a roster spot. He wasn't one of those players that with Penn, you draw him in as a wide receiver on this team in September when he signed in April or May or whatever it was, but earned his role here in training camp a couple of years ago and has been consistently productive and a big part of this team for 2 years now. I mean, look at last year, easily the best season of his career. 27 catches, 460 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was 3rd on the team in receiving yards behind only Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice. And he was consistent, at least 40 receiving yards in 7 games last year. Now he's dealing with a foot injury right now, not practicing today, but he's been a big part of this team, and it's easy to talk about the new additions, and that's why we just did that. It's exciting, but Justin Watson has been one of those lunch pail kind of players that has helped this team win.
And don't overlook the fact that he can make an explosive play. Ask the Chargers. 2022, the 68-yarder was a gigantic. Like, who is this guy? And remember, Patrick Mahomes at his own OTAs in 2022 down in Texas was like, who's Watson, man? This guy has actually got some juice.
And the Raiders a couple years ago, too, down the sideline.
And the sideline. Let's talk about the next group of guys, because this is where it gets very interesting over these remaining practices here in St. Joseph, and even beyond with those couple of weeks before the start of the regular season. Some big decisions to be made. We've mentioned 4 wide receivers. Again, there are 14 in this training camp. Then there's a next group of guys, and I'm just going to throw them all together here, because when you look at McCole Hardman, hero, touchdown catch in Super Bowl 58, so many impactful plays that you've forgotten about in this run to 3 Super Bowl championships. The 58-yard kickoff return against the Texans down 24-0 in 2019 started all this. you throw him in there. Then you look at Kadarius Toney. The longest punt return in Super Bowl history of 65 yards. Then you throw in Justin Ross, who had another great catch out here yesterday, who does spectacular things. And then Sky Moore, touchdown reception in Super Bowl 57. There's a group of 4 really that I think maybe separated when you discuss of thinking, wow, what's going to happen here with these guys? Because we mentioned 4 earlier. You're not going to keep 8 wide receivers.
Well, and another is Nico Remigio.
Yeah, I should have thrown him in there because he becomes maybe the most interesting of those guys as we move forward.
For a lot of reasons. If you were following camp stuff last year, his name popped up a lot because he was one of the darlings of training camp. Undrafted free agent out of Fresno State and Cal before that. A really interesting player with a strong base, powerful hands, can really pluck the ball out of the sky. Well, he got hurt in camp last year. It might have been the preseason going on after the Saints game. He got hurt, was on injured reserve all year long. You kind of forget about him. Well, now he's back, and he was really, really good during OTAs, and he's kind of picked up where he left off. And one of the reasons I like him so much is he's versatile. He can help you in a lot of different ways. He can be a receiver, obviously, he's good at that, but also he can be a return man on kickoffs. Think about the new kickoff rule, how it's kind of different. You want players who are more kind of like a running back there, and he kind of has that build. And you can have 2 returners back there, so he can be the return man or maybe the returner who you use as a blocker as well because he has that thick base. Then also he can be a weapon out of the backfield, I think. Trying to find a way to replace what Jerick McKinnon did for this team for so many years. He can have that skill set as well. So he's got to earn it, got to make the team, but I like Nico Remigio a lot as kind of a dark horse to make this squad.
The new kickoff rule. Remember our last live stream, if you were able to see it, we talked about Louis Rezamet has a shot more than he maybe would before because of the new kickoff rule. A bigger person that could be benefited because of that and making the team would be Nico Remigio. Of all the reasons you just laid out, he's got a running back build but a wide receiver route running capability. If he is your 5th or 6th wide receiver and becomes one of your more effective kickoff return guys with this new crazy kickoff rule that you wait till you see it, and then you'll all be talking about it at work, is really one of the developing stories, I think, in this training camp. But we all know there's a clog of guys there. Group, all have had moments. All have tall or talented. But where do we go from here? So it'll be interesting to see. The rest of the wide receiver room, we've seen some talent from those guys. But Phillip Brooks will be someone that a lot of the Chiefs Kingdom knows about. Really good player, at least Summit West for the Titans. One of the top high school programs, not only in the Metro, but in the state of Missouri. But at Kansas State, he was really one of the nation's best players. And talking about Remigio doing a bunch of different things, that was Phillip Brooks at K-State. Whether it's an electrifying kick or punt return or volume, he was really one of the nation's leaders as a multi-purpose receiver.
Really consistent at K-State. I didn't know much about him until he signed with us as an undrafted free agent a few months ago, but it's really impressive stuff. Had at least 40 catches for more than 500 yards and multiple touchdowns in each of his last 3 years in Manhattan. You bring these guys in and see what they can do, and there's no guarantee that they'll make the team, but maybe they do. Maybe they make the practice squad. You kind of forget about them, and then in week 7 they come up and make a huge play on special teams. So, you know, I understand that we're excited about Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice, and for good reason, but to be a championship team and for the Chiefs trying to win a 3rd championship in a row, you need everybody, because at some point the play will come your way, and you have to have the right player in place to make that play. And Phillip Brooks is a player that so far has impressed us. Made a great play during one-on-ones earlier, so he's a name to watch as well, and it's cool him being a local kid here in camp.
And I'll mention this, the only active player in the nation last year of all the FCS schools too, 1,000 receiving yards, over 100 yards rushing, 800 yards on kickoff returns, and 700 yards on punt returns. So you put a guy like Phillip Brooks in the crock pot, we talk about the slow simmer, let him develop in your system. All of a sudden he pops up in November, December, and he's running back a punt for a touchdown. You'll see the method to the madness. Again, we're celebrating football's return here in training camp today. It's the back-together weekend. All 32 teams, including your back-to-back Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, are celebrating this return. You can catch the action on NFL Network, NFL Plus, ABC, and ESPN, and then go to NFL.com/backtogether weekend for more information. It's this whole weekend all throughout the league. And a reminder, we're brought to you by Mosaic Life Care, the proud presenting partner and the official care provider of the Kansas City Chiefs training camp.
So Montrell Washington just made a great catch deep down the field and then did like a gymnastics routine in the end zone.
And we didn't even mention him. Can we talk about Montrell Washington?
Yeah.
We're going to get to the linebackers here, but he's another guy. Put him in that Phillip Brooks category. My favorite Montreal Washington moment, he was the Broncos punt returner. He was a really good player at Samford. But when we got to Germany last year, we're getting ready to play the Miami Dolphins, and we're at the practice working through jet lag in Frankfurt, Germany, at the practice side of the German national football or soccer team, and we're going, who is the Tyreek Hill impersonator?
It looked just like him. It was amazing.
He had every movement down of Tyreek Hill. Remember, I went up to him and I go, dude, that's unreal. He was awesome in preparing this team for Tyreek Hill.
He had the collar and everything. Like, he looked
It was all
just
of it.
like him, like the same jitterbug motions. It was so funny. But he really helped this team on the field as well as a return man. Like, kind of saved us mid-season because we had so many injuries. Returned to 8 punts and 1 kick between week 3 and week 6 last year, and he's now back in this camp. Made some impressive plays. I made the big catch just now and had the deep catch yesterday as well during 11 on 11. So another name to know, and the more you can do, he can help us on special teams too.
And if you're a Slippery Rock fan or Villanova fan, don't want to leave out Jared Heck, Villanova, and also Sheets from Slippery Rock. But let's transition now to linebackers, because this is a group. I get excited, but this whole room has elevated now. We talked about Drew Tranquil, and watching him this spring and summer, I really expect him to take the next level up. Also, people forget, Nick Bolton last year missed over half the season in the regular season. He missed 9 games, and yet came back great in the playoffs. And then Leo Chenal, we saw what he did. He poked the ball out from Christian McCaffrey in Super Bowl 58. Every one of those guys is marked. None of those guys are descending. I guess that's my point. And that's not something you could say at all 32 training camps.
Well, to your point about losing Nick Bolton for so many games last year, this was the number 2 scoring defense in the NFL last season. You lose Nick Bolton early, so many teams would fall apart defensively after losing like their quarterback of the defense early in the year. And having Drew Tranquil to be that guy to step in, like, we didn't skip a beat. What a luxury to have Drew Tranquil on this team. Such a good player. Love having all the guys healthy because he's even better then. But, I mean, Drew Tranquil in so many ways, I think, saved our defense last year because you lose one of your best defensive players in Nick Bolton. Nobody panics because you have a guy like Drew Tranquil who can step right in.
If Drew Tranquil called Hollywood Brown a dog, you just saw it if you've been with us. Hey, Drew Tranquil can bark as well. Drew, to be in this now for a second year, what has it done for you in your progression?
I think just confidence, playing faster. I think whenever you're in a system consecutive years and you can stack your understanding, stack your knowledge, it helps you just react quicker, helps you communicate better to your teammates, be a better teammate. And so we're just trying to build days out here, stack days.
I get excited watching this defense all spring and summer. Where is this defense going? Because to me, it could be even better than last year.
Well, I mean, Spags in 2016, he'll be the first to tell you they had a top defense in 2016. The following year, they dropped to like bottom, like 31, 32nd. We're not going to let that happen this year. We talk about it each and every day. Our new saying this year is D-bet, demand better. And we're just trying to stack days, like I said, get better. We know we have guys that have been stacking years in this system, getting better in their understanding. And if we can just play more collective, play more cohesive, we're going to have a good chance this year.
Playing the run and playing the pass, there's a lot on your plate. And the fact that you're out there now, like number 1 nickel, you're out there in base. What about that and playing both ends of the spectrum?
Well, you got to do that. Obviously, we have a great team, great offense to go against each and every day out here. They make it challenging with their schematics. Coach Reed is constantly putting stress on all levels of the defense. And so it's a good challenge out here in camp. But like you said, you got to play the run, you got to play the pass. Baltimore, they're going to come in and run at week 1. We got to be ready to do that, and we got to be able to get after them in the pass rush when our chances come.
Final question, but let's be honest here. Your defense is maybe as complex as any in the league, because Pat will say the same thing you just said about the offense. What about all the stuff you're bringing against opponents?
Well, I think you can just bring it from every side, right? You can bring it from the boundary, bring it from the field, bring it up the middle. And so when Spags, he's a brilliant coach. We got a lot of coaches that have had a lot of years together. Whenever you get a lot of bright minds together, good things can happen. And, man, I'm excited for this next year.
What we've seen this franchise do, again with these veteran free agents that they've brought in, Justin Reed comes to mind with this, but Tranquil fits this category for sure. You come in and you enhance the culture. You adopt it, you accept it, you love it. He loves being here, but he's actually made the culture better.
And I love when players come from AFC West opponents and join us and then win the Super Bowl. It's so much fun. He had so much fun last year just on a one-year contract, and for him to be back now, just one of the best young linebackers in the NFL who can do a little bit of everything. 79 tackles last season, 7 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 18 pressures. And again, you lose Nick Bolton for 8 games. Defense does not skip a beat. Drew Tranquill is awesome, and I'm so glad he's back.
And yet Bolt came back with a fury in the playoffs twice in their run to the Super Bowl 58 championship, 13 tackles in 2 separate games, including the game at Buffalo where he was so effective. And Nick Bolton just pieces this group together. We talked about the great draft classes, but now Nick Bolton becomes almost like a senior leader like he was later in his career at Mizzou. Nick Bolton has gone to another level.
Do you ever go back and watch our old draft shows? I did this a few days ago. I watched our 2021 draft show when we drafted Creed Humphrey and Nick Bolton. It's fun to go back and watch that. And we were excited just reading about what they could do. We'd watch them a little bit. But to think about what they've accomplished in the time since, and for Nick Bolton to be in the middle of one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the NFL, and he's been so important. I mean, think about the fumble recovery for a touchdown against the Eagles a couple years ago in the Super Bowl. I mean, back-to-back 100 tackle campaigns in 2021 and 2022. And you mentioned it, missed time last year, but when he came back, he had double-digit tackles in 3 of the Chiefs' 4 postseason games. And he's also improved so much. Like, he's improved specifically against the pass over the last couple years, and he's just the quarterback of one of the best defenses in the league, and so lucky to have him.
Leo Chenal ascending. Think of his last two postseasons, a sack in Super Bowl 57 against the Eagles and this forced fumble, which really set the tone of Super Bowl 58. But now we go to the group. You've heard of the Killer Bees, right? These are the Killer C's.
Okay.
And this is where this linebacker room, when you look at a guy like Jack Cochran, I call him the Coyote, the South Dakota Coyote, what he's meant in special teams now for 2 years. Cam Jones, who played over 100 snaps in the victory over the Chargers last year in Week 18. Cole Christensen, he snuffs out the fake punt by Damar Hamlin against the Buffalo Bills, and one of the most decorated players in West Point history. C, and C, Coyote, Cochran, Cam, and Christensen. They become so valuable. If nothing else, they are really good in special teams play.
So Jack Cochran was one of the University of South Dakota's 30 under 30 recipients in 2022. My wife was also on there. She went to USC.
She made that list as well?
Ellie, yeah. Jack
she was
Cochran
on that list.
and my wife were both on there. So go Yotes. But Jack Cochran's a great example of how if you're an undrafted free agent, doesn't matter where you came from or what you've accomplished to that point, you have a chance to make this team. Jack Cochran, coming in here as a UDFA a couple years ago, now has 2 Super Bowl rings and kind of manning a thankless role. He had 336 special team snaps last year. That led the team. So Jack Cochran, a player that I like a lot because he mans a role that no one really thinks about but is so important. And you're so right about Cole Christensen. I mean, I mentioned earlier about you got to have everybody to be ready for their moment and their play. Cole Christensen didn't play a whole lot last year, but in the divisional round of the playoffs against the Buffalo Bills, the biggest game of the season to that point, the Bills tried to have a fake punt, and he sniffs it out. Just incredible stuff to be ready for his moment. Love those players and how they fight for their role on this team.
Yep, they called him Captain America at West Point, and there's a reason they did that. Then 2 of the linebackers. There's only 8. This is a cozy linebacker room.
We got the quarterback challenge going on behind us if you're wondering what's happening.
And the Olympics have started.
They're trying to hit the goalpost.
And Mahomes will probably hit it every time. Although Carson Wentz will challenge him, I think.
Yeah.
2 of the guys to mention, don't want to gloss over this because they become crockpot guys. Curtis Jacobs, who was a really good player, 24 tackles for losses at Penn State. And then Swayze Bozeman, you're going to see a lot of him. Where's number 55 in the preseason? A 7-year college player.
Wow.
He played 7 years in college. He had an injury year, the COVID year, 5 years at Southern Miss, and he plays 2 years at Copiah Lincoln Junior College prior to that. I had to ask him, I go, Swayze, did you really play? He goes, yeah, 7 years. He's 25 years old. He's 4 years older as a rookie than Kingsley Sua'Matia, who's 21 years old in the same rookie class.
That's where the Chiefs front office wins, though, because a player like Swayze, very talented, maybe didn't get drafted because of his age and because he transferred around. But if a player has talent, bring him in here and see what they can do. He's impressed us so far. Yes. I mean, maybe as a special teamer and also a depth player at middle linebacker. And such a great name as well. Swayze Bozeman feels like an auto-generated name in the College Football 25 video game. That's a linebacker right there, Swayze Bozeman.
And Jan Stenerud, the graduate of Montana State, will go, why didn't he play at Montana State in Bozeman, Montana? Because his name's Swayze Bozeman.
Missed opportunity.
But 8 cozy guys in that linebacker room, but I'm really excited about it because I think that's the fact that this team is ascending. This team is not plateaued at all. Not at – you think of, like, there's maybe Kels, right? Maybe Kels, but he even you can't take that away from Kels. But you're looking at this team is all growing, and the linebacker room is a great example of that. And they become kind of the middle force of this defense, which I think, and it's said before, even if it doesn't look that way statistically, could be even better than a year ago in effectiveness and impact.
Well, a lot of times when you have a great defense, it's contingent on a whole bunch of veterans who are maybe expensive or nearing the end of their career. The Chiefs' defense, and with it being as good as it was last year, that really began in 2022 with that draft class. All those players that were a part of that class, George Karlaftis, Leo Chanel, Trent McDuffie, Brian Cook, Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson, Nazeeh Johnson, could go on and on. Jack Cochran was part of that too as a UDFA. Those players only got better last year, and the result was the number 2 scoring defense in the NFL. They're all under 25 years old. Yep. So the defense is only going to get better moving forward, and that's an exciting proposition when you think about how the offense, we expect it to be much better this season for the reasons we mentioned about 20 minutes ago. Listen, the Chiefs just won back-to-back Super Bowls, and listen, we're wearing red. We're huge Chiefs people, right? But we're seeing what we're seeing with our eyeballs, and this team might be better on both sides of the ball than it was last year.
I will tell you, they're better on both sides of the ball than they were last year. But imagine Swayze Bozeman walking into that, because you're and Joshua Williams, all those guys that are listening at going, I'm older than all you dudes, so you guys are 43-0 in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
A 7-year college veteran.
Never lost a playoff game. Crazy. I texted him this yesterday. The Chiefs have won 7 straight playoff games. So if you're having a bad day, just remember that.
It's not a bad day, though, when you're returning to football, right? And we're celebrating football's return in training camp, the back-together weekend. Catch the action on NFL Network, NFL Plus, ABC, and ESPN. Go to NFL.com/backtogether the weekend for more information. And, again, all of our live streams are brought to you by Mosaic Life Care, the proud presenting partner of the Quarterback Challenge and the official healthcare provider. How are we doing in the Quarterback Challenge? Have we got the judges that have given – you know, we need to take fans out of the stands and maybe be the judges like the Olympic Games.
Like Chuck Norris and dodgeball, like they each slowly raise their thumbs up. I agree. That could be a new promotion. I think you're onto something.
And, of course, Matt Nagy loves this, right? He gets David Girardi out there, and they get to have some fun of, like, thinking of different things to do.
Well, they're stacking trash cans right now, and there's the donuts, and I don't really even know what the objective is, but it's something creative.
But what will happen throughout the Chiefs' kingdom now, of all the little kids that are here, and there are gazillions here today. This is also like Family Day, and a lot of flag teams are out here today. It's cool. But you're going to see so many kids in the backyard stack trash cans tomorrow throughout the Chiefs' kingdom, and mom's going, hey, where's all the trash cans? And they see it out in the backyard with the dog chasing the kid throwing in their own version of the Quarterback Challenge. But there's a challenge going on here in this camp to try to do something that's never been done in NFL history. And I think we've laid out 2 very important rooms for you. One is full of dudes, and it's going to be a lot going on with that position group at wide receiver. And then a cozy group of linebackers, but all are talented and can be contributors. But I think that's what we have here. The vibe continues, and in the second day of pads, they continue the tempo of the first day of pads when they were all excited, man, to get ready to roll.
And it's only day 6 overall of camp, day 2 of pads, as you said. Long way to go before we get to where this team wants to be. But so far, just very exciting, seeing both sides of the ball find success. This team is where I think they need to be at this moment. Now the challenge is just keep getting better here as we go.
And we got more live streams coming your way. We kind of parcel these out through the time up here in St. Joseph, and so we got more coming your way. Plus, we will also keep you updated with what happens with the news conferences and the pressers inside the tent. And those become somewhat revealing because, again, during training camp, it's such a unique time. You get more information than you get really during the season. Same for Matt and me. Our interaction with the coaches and players, it's the most now of any time throughout the entire calendar year, and it's the same for all of you, and we want to bring that to them.
And once again, come up to camp. If you have the ability to do so, come say hi to us. There's nothing like training camp, and especially when you're watching the back-to-back defending Super Bowl champion, you can go right up there and see him play and get some autographs after practice. There's nothing like it. If you see us, come say hi.
All right. Going to do this some more, so stay tuned. You can follow the Chiefs on the YouTube channel. We'll try to give you live coverage of the pressers, but know this. The wide receiving room, electricity. The linebacker room is connectivity and productivity. For Matt McMullen, senior team reporter, I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. Enjoy the rest of your back to football weekend.